What's up, everybody? So this Sunday video is going to be a little different. I'm outside for one. It's not going to be very edited, and it's not going to be as produced. I'm going to try to leave it mostly uncut. I'll cut out large periods of silence or people back there who don't want their faces in my videos. When I first started making these kinds of videos, I spent a lot of time trying to act very somber about my mental health, treating it like this sacred subject that required my reverence and respect. And it does, and I do respect the broader idea of mental health and that it should be treated delicately. But then I realized I was pretending that I thought my ADHD and that my bipolar 2 were like handicaps, and that they made me less of a person. That's kind of what I was putting forward. And pretending to think like that was exhausting. Just like anytime you have to pretend to be something that you're not. Because whenever I'm on an upswing, and whenever I'm hyper-focusing on something that's helpful to me, I feel unstoppable. I feel like I can do anything. And I love that feeling. Similarly, trying to bring that kind of energy to a video when I'm going through a downswing, like right now, or when I've gone through a really hard week. I think we've all gone through a really hard week this week. It just feels like across the board it's hitting everybody a little harder. Pretending to have that energy, pretending to be hyper-focused on the task, and pretending that I'm on an upswing is just as exhausting. And right now I'm on a downswing. Right now all I want to do is crawl into a hole and play Zelda for like a week. And that's not an option for me, because I've taken this time off. I've taken this time that everyone is forced to be in isolation to really work on figuring out what I want to do creatively. And I've landed, on this channel, and it's been really satisfying. And there are people that I've connected with, people who I've helped and who are helping me, and this sense of community within the neurodivergent Dungeons and Dragons scene I feel like it's really starting to build, and I love that. And I just want to tell you folks that it's okay, even though I talk about, how to do the most work and how to make the most out of your time prepping the game, and how to keep working to discover more about yourself every time you play D&D, that it's okay to take a break. Today's kind of a break for me, so I'm deciding I'm not going to spend hours and hours assembling and editing. I'm going to leave this one pretty much how it is, and I don't want you to think that because of this video that this is a cry for help or anything, because this is just a part of my journey, week to week. Some weeks I'm really jazzed and I'm making faces and I'm doing voices and I'm just really animated, and some weeks I just don't have that in me. And hi car. And this is just one of those weeks where I can't really bring the thunder. I'm still pumped up about tabletop role-playing games and about being honest and vulnerable about mental health. But I'm also really tired. And it's okay if you're tired too. It doesn't mean that you're failing. It doesn't mean that you're failing if you can't capitalize on every moment of this crazy time. It's okay to just be you and, go on a walk and listen to the mountain goats. That's what I did this morning, and it was awesome. I feel like it refilled my tank just a little bit. So don't worry about spending yourself to get everything you can out of this time that the world is on pause. Instead, it's okay to take a look at yourself and at what you're doing and hit pause on yourself for just a little bit, not for a while, just until you feel the fire, until you've got that urge to get in there and get messy again. And one of the questions that somebody asked me this week was about getting people to show up for D&D, to stay in the game. And that's one of the trickier problems with D&D. I think anyone who's ever DM'd for a long period of time has had that, that feeling of pouring yourself into a campaign for weeks or months, and then with me, what happened was 2 of the players were dating and they broke up, and that derailed the campaign because people didn't want to take sides. And I was like, guys, I just want to play Dungeons and Dragons. I don't care if you broke up. Come on, come over. And it just halted, and it wasn't really anybody's fault, But it felt like my fault because how I view the world and the lenses that I put on myself when I turn that eye inward. But the most helpful tip I have, I guess, for keeping the game going comes from a more recent, I almost used the word failure, comes from a more recent time when the band broke up. Our in-person game that was meeting pretty regularly just halted. I couldn't get them all on board for Skype games. Everyone kind of retreated into their own worlds because when D&D is like an indefinite, what's the word I'm looking for? Obligation. An indefinite obligation of could this be every other week, every other Monday night or whatever for the next 20 years? How long are they expecting me to do this? It can be harder to get people to commit. And I just started a new campaign, and I told the players, some of the same players, not the whole group, that, hey, this is going to be 4 or 5 sessions, and then it's going to be done, and here's what it's going to be about. We're going to start as 0th level commoners who are just village kids, and you're going to figure out what you want to be when you grow up by the time this campaign is over. And they seem interested in that, and they're all responding to it pretty well. And since they know that there are, it's like seeing a Netflix show that's 5 episodes long. They're like, okay, I can binge this. This is going to be okay. I can binge this, and I won't feel like garbage afterward. I won't be neglecting anything else in my life if I make this moderate commitment. And what that comes back around to is just setting your players' expectations and letting them know what your expectations are, communicating that from the top. Because it's the dream, for a lot of people is to run that 1st level to 20th level campaign. And I've only seen that once, and I've been playing D&D for 20 years. And that's reserved for people in high school. Any high schoolers watching, if you have that opportunity, seize it now. The average length of my adult D&D campaigns is usually 8 sessions, 10 sessions, maybe. And I think if we empower ourselves to say, instead of, I hope that this lasts past that, whatever your benchmark is for when the campaign usually fizzles out, to instead say, I'm going to build a campaign that's going to take place over 10 sessions, or over 8 sessions, or over 5 sessions. And, that kind of runs counter to these Wizards of the Coast adventures that we get that are like Curse of Strahd would take a year to run, at least. But even taking content like that and just chopping it up into, hey, we're going to level up every session, or we're going to level up every other session, and preparing it thusly can be really empowering to you and to your process. And it can lower that suspense between you and the players where somebody is like, I just got a new job, I have a kid, I just, whatever thing is happening. I just lost my job, one of my players is dealing with that right now. And getting rid of that tension, and it makes people wonder if D&D is going to be worth it compared to all these other things. Because at the end of the day, it's a game, it's a hobby. There's no built-in reward for playing D&D aside from hanging out with your friends. And that's another tip that I've heard a lot and that I use, is that if you structure D&D like it's just hanging out with your friends, like, we're going to have dinner tonight every other Thursday, and then also play D&D afterward for 2 hours. It's a lot easier to get people to commit to the idea of just hanging out instead of the idea of D&D and all the kind of intimidating baggage that comes along with that from reading what people have to say about it on the internet. The people who watch Critical Role, I watch Critical Role, but the people who watch Critical Role and then say, like, if D&D is not like this, then it's not D&D, because this is my impression of the game. So everyone needs to have character voices, and no one can metagame according to my definition of metagaming, and no one can, everyone has to take it as seriously as I'm taking it, which is ridiculous. If they were taking D&D as seriously as you were taking it, they would be DMing right now, too. So it's okay to say, we're going to play D&D for just a little while, for just a couple sessions, and the object is going to be to have fun with my friends and not to embolden the experience of group storytelling, to enrich the storytelling landscape with my D&D campaign. That's all I really have this week. I hope that you are doing something that fills you up with amazing energy and power. I hope that you are finding the art and the people who make you feel more like yourself and not like you have to pretend to be something else. And until next time, you've earned it. Take it easy.